go over to the Gator Bowl. Let's talk about Ole Miss and Duke. Because, boy, I mean, Duke had a great season, okay? And maybe I've been a little bit unfair to them because I have been talking about my preseason expectation was that Duke was going to stink, that this was a bottom 2, bottom 3 roster in the ACC. And 9 wins from them, I guess I was wrong about that, right? But man, did they squeak out of some of those wins in just the smallest, sneakiest ways possible. And then you're also missing Malik Murphy, right? No Grayson Loftus in this game. You're going to have Henry Bellin, the fourth, starting at quarterback for this game. The last time that he played quarterback, I know he got hurt, but he wasn't great throwing the football, which is something that you need to do against Ole Miss, right? If you're going to. And by the way, Ole Miss, nearly everyone playing, which I did not expect at all, right? You have a team of transportal kids that don't want to necessarily characterize any of them, without knowing these kids. But you have a team full of transfers, right? You talk about maybe meshing culture, right? Having this understanding. Like if you're a transfer portal kid, you're likely looking out for yourself generally. So if you have a team full of people looking out for themselves, but they're all playing in this game, yeah, I guess they're a little bit bought in right here. And this spread is 17.5 is what we're going to pick it at. I don't think it's enough. I think Ole Miss is going to absolutely boat race this Duke team if they have all of their players play the full game. We just saw Cam Ward opt out of the second half, and everyone made a big deal about it. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal, but we'll see what Ole Miss does in that department because they do have NFL players on this team. And Duke, quite frankly, doesn't have a lot of those, as many as Ole Miss does. So what are you going to have to do, right? You have to run the ball if you're Duke effectively, which Ole Miss hasn't let anyone do all year. Okay, great. Check. Yeah, we got to throw the ball with Henry Bellin. Well, I guess you got a decent set of receivers right there, but with Bellin a quarterback, can you trust him through the air? I personally can't.
Not
Right?
until
No.
proven otherwise, and not to intrude on you. Ole Miss gets after the pass rusher, so yes, they are vulnerable at times through the air, but they have 262 pressures on the year. That is a lot. Princely U, Suntrain Perkins, Jared Ivey, Walter Nolan, JJ Pegas. Chris Ball's opted out, but he's very good blitzing, right? But holy cow, do they like to get after Pete Golding likes to get after the quarterback this year with Ole Miss.
And by the way, you don't have a great offensive line for Duke, right? I think they held up against some teams that don't have necessarily good pass rushes, right? I think this Duke offensive line overperformed, right, their expectations. And I think people are going to look at this game and be like, yeah, they got 4 right good players in this offensive line. I guess you'll call them good, right? I just think people are going to you're going to hear the broadcast talk about how Duke offensive line, how they let up, such few sacks this year. They've only let up 9 sacks. It's yada yada yada. Okay. I don't think Duke has played a defensive line like this. I think Duke's offensive line is about to get absolutely shook by what's going to come at them this week. Because I'm sorry, Duke fans. I know I'm sounding like a total butthole right now. Trying to talk down about your entire team and your season because it was an unbelievable season. By the way, you almost beat Syracuse. Actually, probably should have beaten Syracuse. Right? You should be at almost 10 wins right now. But there's also
You also
some
should
of
have
these
beaten
wins.
SMU as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could have lost a lot of football games. SMU when they played Duke only had 1 sack, which I found pretty impressive, right? But some of that was Malik Murphy, having a better understanding of what to do with the football. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna ride with Ole Miss right here. I really do. Now, if Duke's offensive line does hold up somehow, I think Duke will have a chance to keep this game close.
Yeah, and defensively, you're gonna have to cause havoc, right? You have 41 sacks on the year, which is a good amount of a lot, right? You got 12 interceptions, 19 forced fumbles. You're looking at right about 2 turnovers a game. Your 2 turnover opportunities cause a game. You're going to have to be at least at 2, plus a couple more sacks with that as well. You've got Wesley Williams, defensive end, who's been fantastic recently. 4 sacks in just the month of November alone. I like your linebacker core. You've got Alex Howard as well, who we like in run blitz there. Plus, there's no opt-outs, right? And so you've got Rivers and Moore in the secondary as well. And if you have Ole Miss, right, who's maybe without Trey Harris if he's still not healthy, right, and maybe without your right tackle, maybe there's I'll be honest, I'm on Ole Miss here. I think 7.5 isn't enough, so I'm on Ole Miss here. And also, I think Ole Miss is a team where we saw Cam Ward opt out of the second half. And like, not saying that's going to happen here with Ole Miss, but if you do start to see players not be playing, like I think Ole Miss has a little bit more depth. And also Austin Simmons, I think, is a pretty damn good quarterback as well to come in and play well for Ole Miss. Yeah, if you're going to want to win, you got to get after Jackson Dart, although he is actually pretty damn good against the pressure when he is getting pressured, and when blitzed, he is somehow better than when he's not blitzed. And some of that's Lane Kiffin, some of that's the O-line, some of that's also how good he's been this year. So yeah, it's really tough, right? You're Duke and you have a chance to win 10 games and you get matched up in the Gator Bowl and you're playing potentially, right, the second best team in the SEC, right? And I don't think that's crazy to say at all, especially if they're bought in, which it sounds like they are.
From a power
Yeah,
rating perspective, it's probably the third best team
yeah.
in
Although
the
I would take them
SEC.
to beat Texas, and well, they crushed Georgia,
They
right?
did.
And that was at home. It was in the rain, whatever, yada yada yada. But yeah, we'll see here. For Ole Miss here, I don't know what else to say here other than I
I
hope
also think
Jackson
Lane
Dart.
Kiffin wants to send a message to the ACC. That's another thing too. There's a factor where Lane Kiffin, as a coach, could legitimately try to do that. Just pour it on, you know, and then do some cryptic tweet after. Well, not it won't be cryptic because he'll be very very. he will be very probably very explicit about his intentions there, tweeting about the college football playoffs. Likely if they kill Duke here,
I will
but yeah,
say they have right in his first couple of years at at Ole Miss, right, and you lost to Baylor, right, in the Sugar or the Outback Bowl, and you lost. Yeah, I'm sorry, the Sugar Bowl, and you lost to Texas Tech. Kind of got crushed in that game in the Texas Bowl. Played a lot better in the Peach Bowl last year against Penn State. You obviously won the Outback Bowl in 2021, 2020 season against Indiana. But yeah, I think you're right here about sending a message because and that's why, yeah, I think that's something that's of note, for sure, especially if you get in a spot where, maybe you're sweating out 17 or you're at 23 or whatever, and you gotta, and maybe the starters are still in there, whatever it may be. But yeah, it sucks for Duke, man. No one's giving them a chance to win. And they have a chance to win, obviously. But there's a reason the line's at 17, and we think at the show it's probably pretty accurate.
if not, not enough.
Well, I think that the uncertainty there, and just to get a little bit nerdy about betting here and lines, like I don't think you can with the unknowns of bowl season. I don't think Vegas and a sports book can like responsibly put out a line bigger than 3 touchdowns. You know,
I
like
think
at this,
the biggest lines last year, I think, was about 17 and a half. It was Oregon and Liberty, and then Oregon absolutely dog walked them.
yeah. And by the way, big spreads we've seen so far, and we've betted on them, right? Tulane, or we bet on Florida, right? And we bet on Syracuse, right? Am I
And
missing any other?
TCU
And TCU. Are we missing any other? Oh, and also the playoff too had a couple 10-point games.
and Texas covered,
Army covered last night.
which we were on as best bet as well.
Yeah, so anything over 10, I'm looking at the
And the game after this one that we're going to talk about. But
UTSA was 12 and a half, and they dog walked Coastal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some of
not
these big spreads are pretty accurate.
or not even not enough, right? It's the point here.
Yeah.
Yeah.